All right, so we got some news here related to Path of Exile 2. We actually got the release date for 0.3.0, which will be the new league with the fresh start economy and all of that. Now, 0.2.0 was named Dawn of the Hunt, but we don't have a name for this one, but we do have the date with the name still to be determined. This is August 29th, and if you click on the link here and they say to get more information, you look at this, basically what they do is they sort of break down what's going on. Now, the first thing they mention is the cadence has been changed. Previously, what they would do is they would lock in what they wanted the league to have and then change the date depending upon how quickly they're developing it. They said no more. They thought they were doing it wrong, and now they want a consistent cadence. So every 4 months, you're going to be getting an update. That means that August is this one for 0.3.0 for the new league, and then the next league will be December, and that is the same thing for Path of Exile 1, only they're on a 2-month offset. So it's every 2 months you have, if you play both games, you have PoE 2, 2 months after PoE 1, and then back to PoE 2, 2 months after that, etc. So they kind of have a off cadence there, back and forth every 2 months. Now, to kind of break down what the league actually is for people that maybe don't know, but basically it's new combat mechanics, new rewards, new crafting options. I like to see them mention crafting there, and new bosses. Now, here's the interesting part about this. So, speaking of this announcement they showed, this is the music guy here, the music director, Camille. He sort of posted this kind of like cooking GIF response here. And the thing is he's the guy who typically kind of cooks up the boss theme. So I said, music guy posting, does that mean new music, which means new boss, or maybe new acts? He responds, music, music, and more music. So sort of the theory tinfoil had is that he's making more music, and that's typically paired with boss themes or major boss themes, or sometimes town themes, like when you go to each of the towns and the different acts, they sort of have their own theme. But we have more than just, music, plus the fact that they say, if you scroll down here at the bottom, they say this is a little later in the month that we want for this update, but this is a big update, so it's supposed to be a big one. There's also this interview here that Jonathan did. He actually flew to China. He did Japan as well, and we'll talk about that one in just a second. But there was an interview in China. I haven't watched all of this yet, but he mentions here in response to a question that the change in the campaign might be sooner than you think. You see, they asked him about how he felt about the state of the campaign and sort of the pacing of the gameplay, because obviously movement speed and all these things have been a very common question, and the pacing of the game has been a very common question, so much so he's probably sick of answering it by now. But in the answer to this, he said that one of the things that he believes is sort of the blame for this as well is the fact that not only do you have to do acts 1 through 3, but then you have to do cruel acts 1 through 3 again as a placeholder for the campaign. Well, he says, when this changes, it's going to help things out, and that change might actually be sooner than you think. Now, we know that some of the acts are, already been partially at least cooked up. This is old footage here from 2023 of IGN playing the Druid, and these are, part of the later acts. You can see King's March there. So I think the odds are pretty good. They've had at least some of it developed for a bit, or at least the skeleton of it for a little bit of time here. We got the music guy dropping little hints that he's making a lot of music, and you have the sooner than you think comment from Jonathan, and we're also going into this will be, effectively the third league. You had sort of the starting league. They had 0.2, Dawn of the Hunt, and now this is kind of the third league, and they said there was at least a chance at the game releasing this year, which I don't think it's going to be this year, but all of these kind of, put together bits. It's like, okay, the odds are we could actually get a new act from this league. And I say singular act because before they mentioned that 4, 5, and 6 were going to drop together. Like, they thought it'd be weird to drop them independently, but they sort of walked it back. I forget which interview it was. I want to say it was maybe the Talkative Try one, where they mentioned that previously they were going to be putting the acts in all at once, but they were open to the idea now of dropping them in individually. Like maybe one league gives 4, and then one league gives 5, then one league gives 6. Also, obviously, with this footage here you're probably now thinking and wondering about the Druid. The Druid seems to be the most requested class at this moment, though I will say for myself, I probably prefer to see the Templar or maybe the Shadow or something, or even the Duelist. But, the Druid is a very highly requested class. So I would love to see, if you're asking me, what I'd love to see is a new class. So we get the Druid, we get new acts, so the campaign's kind of not as stale as well. Maybe a new crafting option or two to kind of shake up the crafting in the game a little bit. And then this might actually bring you to your head. You might be thinking, well, DM, what about trade system? The auction house is one of the most requested things. In fact, he's answered this question so many times, he's probably getting sick of answering that one as well, because me and Ghazi even asked him in the last Tavern Talk, how about trading system? And he was kind of very sure about, nope, nothing extra to say at the moment about it. However, he did have something extra to say about it in a different interview that was recent. He actually flew to Japan, and in one of these interviews here with KH Interviews Path of Exile director Jonathan Rogers, he confirms that the team is working on a new trading system and making exchanges more accessible and intuitive. The goal is to reduce frustration, remove communication barriers, and streamline the experience, especially for communities like Japan who face difficulties with the current system. But, basically a trade system for everybody. Auction House is probably up there with maybe the most requested change. There's a lot of people that don't like using the current trading system. Particularly, this game is much more on console than like some of the previous iterations. A lot more people play it on console than, like Path of Exile 1, for instance. And having to use like a trading website just to interact with trading in the game that's like on the console is a little weird. But he says that the change is a priority. The team's just being careful to assess the economic impact first. Suffice it to say, there's a lot of things that we could see in 0.3 that people really want. And if you didn't see any of the previous videos, I stated I'm actually flying down in 7 days here. I'll be hopping on a plane, 20 hours worth of flying later. I will be arriving from Alaska to New Zealand to check out GGG Studios in person. And I'm hoping while I'm down there, I'll get my hands on some information to bring back to you guys. I actually don't know what I'm going to be seeing. I don't have any information yet. So I'm kind of going into it kind of blind, but I'm going to bring a camera and a laptop and try to stream as much as I can on the road for you guys, some of this information, and share everything I can as soon as I'm allowed to share it. On top of the obvious stuff you're going to want to know, like Druid win and web mechanics and 0.3 spoilers and all that type of stuff, I'm also going to try to hopefully get some behind-the-scenes footage. I think it'd be very interesting to see sort of a day in the life of the dev, or like show me what it's like to actually make like an NPC in the game. Try to give you some stuff that a lot of this stuff can be done from like an interview format. I can ask questions about what's coming to the game in like an online interview, but in person is where I can actually kind of film the office itself. So I'm hoping to bring some more of that type of stuff back. Either way, if there's some in particular you think would be a good use of time, welcome to put it in the comments. I'll be reading them. Now, they also posted this, which is something I was mentioning earlier, which is that they are working on transmitting all of your cosmetics and microtransactions from Path of Exile 1 into Path of Exile 2, and that they are actually transferring some of the latest free ones that you could get from Twitch. So if you remember right, there is free cosmetics you can get from watching Twitch on the occasion, and these ones that were just in the most recent round from the Path of Exile 1 launch are now being transferred to Path of Exile 2. So during these cadence release launches of PoE 1 and PoE 2, it's probably worth getting your free cosmetics if you're interested in them, because they are actually starting to transfer these at a much, faster pace towards the second game. So if you're one of the people that came by and watched and got your cosmetic already, check PoE 2. Should be in the game here as of 0.2.1b, as well as their new mercenary supporter packs. Another interesting bit is August 21st is the last Epoch launch. So if you're looking for something to do, it actually has 8 full days this time. So we didn't run into the scenario where it could have been they're releasing on top of each other again. You actually get more than a week to play one and then go play the other. And I would expect probably some PoE 2 more information, like a reveal live stream or something, obviously before the date of the actual release. And if it was anything like 0.2.0, the Dawn of the Hunt League, you'll be getting, basically from now until the release of it, once they've actually had the date here, they'll start to bleed out teasers in terms of what's actually coming to the game, with over the next month or so. We still have like 6 weeks or something to the release. Anyway, so that's the news for today. I have to watch the remainder of this this interview that Jonathan did. There's a couple more interviews. There's the Japan one. There's the China one. So we're going to watch this interview now on the live stream. Click down below if you want to watch it. I'll be live. We're going to go through all the PoE 2 news. That's about it. You can subscribe if you want to see the information coming out of me when I get done from New Zealand. I'll bring back what I can. Love you all. See you on the live stream.